Welcome, basketball fans, to what might just be the most seismic, landscape-altering, and narrative-defining moment of the modern NBA era. We are standing at the precipice of a decision that will echo through the halls of basketball history for decades to come. If you thought the summer of 2010 was a spectacle, if you believe the summer of 2014 was the ultimate homecoming story, and if you felt the summer of 2018 was the final chapter of a legendary career, then I need you to brace yourselves. Because the summer of 2026 is officially here, and the King LeBron James has just thrown the entire basketball world into absolute pandemonium. At 41 years old, preparing for an unprecedented 24th NBA season, LeBron James has officially informed the Los Angeles Lakers that he is departing the organization. Let me repeat that, because the gravity of those words needs to sink in. After 8 seasons in the purple and gold, after capturing a championship inside the Orlando bubble, after breaking the all-time scoring record in front of the Hollywood elite, LeBron James is closing the curtain on his Los Angeles chapter. He is walking away, declining to retire and entering the free agency market with one solitary goal in mind, finding the perfect basketball fit for what could very well be his final ride. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is this happening now? The Lakers just guaranteed the final year of his son Bronny's rookie contract. The stage seemed perfectly set for a ceremonial victory lap final season in Los Angeles, surrounded by the bright lights, the celebrity row, and the comforts of Southern California. But LeBron James is not wired like a normal superstar in the twilight of his career. According to the latest reports from the most plugged-in insiders in the league, LeBron is prioritizing happiness, competitive viability, and the ultimate basketball fit over money. He is reportedly willing to sign for significantly less than a maximum contract if it means placing himself in position to compete for a championship or, perhaps more intriguingly, to shape the future of the league. And this is where the plot thickens into an absolutely unbelievable Hollywood-level script. The NBA, as a collective entity, the media apparatus, the executives behind closed doors, the broadcast partners, and the invisible hand that guides the league's grandest storylines, is actively pushing, nudging, and theorizing 2 monumental paths for LeBron James. Path number 1, a move to San Antonio Spurs to join forces with the undeniable extraterrestrial phenomenon that is Victor Wembanyama. Path number 2, a romantic, full-circle, glorious return to the Eastern Conference, the battleground where he forged his legacy for the first 15 years of his career. These are not just idle rumors. These are the shifting tectonic plates of the NBA's future. Let us first examine the sheer magnitude of this moment from a macro perspective. The NBA thrives on compelling narratives. It is a star-driven league that survives on the passing of the torch. Think about Magic Johnson and Larry Bird handing the league over to Michael Jordan. Think about Jordan passing the baton to Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, who then relinquished the throne to LeBron James. For 2 decades, LeBron has been the undisputed face of the league, the sun around which the entire NBA solar system revolves. But he is human, despite all evidence to the contrary, and his time on the hardwood is drawing to a close. The league's front office, the television networks who just signed astronomical broadcasting deals, they all know that the post-LeBron era is looming. They need a bridge. They need a transition of power that feels mythical. And what could possibly be more mythical than the greatest player of this generation migrating to South Texas to mentor, elevate, and potentially win a championship with the greatest prospect the game has ever seen in Victor Wembanyama? Imagine the visual. The 22-year-old French prodigy, fresh off leading the San Antonio Spurs to a miraculous, albeit heartbreaking, run to the 2026 NBA Finals. Wembanyama is already drawing comparisons to a young LeBron. We just witnessed him put up 41 points and 24 rebounds in a Western Conference Finals game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, a performance that analysts are calling his Thanos moment, eerily reminiscent of LeBron's 48-point masterpiece against the Detroit Pistons back in 2007. Wembanyama is the future. LeBron is the present and the past. The narrative symmetry of placing them on the same court, wearing the same silver and black uniform, under the watchful, genius eye of head coach Greg Popovich, is almost too perfect to comprehend. The NBA machinery loves this idea. Bill Simmons has publicly stated that San Antonio is the most fun, the most logical, and the most basketball-pure destination for LeBron. It solves actual issues for the Spurs, who desperately lacked veteran composure during their finals loss to the New York Knicks, and it gives LeBron a legitimate, terrifying co-star who requires no load management when it comes to carrying the defensive anchor. But wait, the siren song of the Eastern Conference is playing a powerful melody. This is path number 2, and it is arguably just as compelling, if not more emotionally resonant. LeBron James returning to the East. The conference he terrorized for a decade and a half. The conference where he reached 8 consecutive NBA Finals. The Eastern Conference landscape has just undergone a massive, unprecedented overhaul. We are talking about a conference that has suddenly become an arms race of historic proportions. Just days ago, the Miami Heat orchestrated a blockbuster trade to acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo, pairing the Greek Freak with whatever is left of Heat culture to form a terrifying juggernaut. The Philadelphia 76ers stunned the world by trading for Jaylen Brown to place alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, creating an absolute monster of a roster. The East is a bloodbath. And into this chaos steps a 41-year-old LeBron James, surveying the battlefield. Could he return to Cleveland? The hometown narrative is intoxicating. The Akron kid coming back to Northeast Ohio for a third stint, to finish exactly where he started 23 years ago. The Cavaliers are no longer a rebuilding project. They are a seasoned, dangerous team. They feature Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, and rumors are swirling that they might even bring in James Harden on a discounted deal. LeBron wouldn't have to carry the offense. He could be the ultimate maestro, the veteran closer, the final piece to push Cleveland over the top. Or does he look at Pat Riley and the Miami Heat, the place where he learned how to become a champion, and decide to link up with Giannis in South Beach to create a team that would break the internet? Or does he allure Philadelphia, a team boasting immense talent but lacking the ultimate championship pedigree, draw him in to be the ultimate missing piece? The NBA is subtly pushing these two distinct timelines because both are incredibly lucrative for the sport. One timeline secures the future of the league by passing the crown to Wembanyama on a silver platter. The other timeline cashes in on nostalgia, creating a television ratings bonanza as LeBron attempts to conquer the Eastern Conference one last time against super teams that have been built specifically to win right now. LeBron has stated he can walk away if he wants, but the fire to compete is clearly still raging. He told the Lakers they can move on without him. He is untethering himself from the sinking ship in Los Angeles to find a vessel that can take him to the promised land. This is the ultimate choose-your-own-adventure for a billionaire athlete who holds all the cards. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the fame. He only needs a narrative and the ultimate basketball fit. And as we transition into deep dive analysis of exactly how these scenarios would play out on the court, you have to ask yourself, what matters more to LeBron James at this exact moment in time? Building a bridge to the future, or walking back through the doors of his past to reclaim his throne? Let's break it down layer by layer, starting with the fascinating, terrifying potential of the LeBron James and San Antonio Spurs alliance. Moving into the deep dive analysis of this monumental situation, we have to look closely at the basketball mechanics, the salary cap gymnastics, and the sheer on-court fit of these respective destinations. Let us start deep in the heart of Texas with the San Antonio Spurs. To understand why this pairing is being pushed so heavily, you have to understand exactly what the Spurs accomplished this past season and exactly what they lacked when the lights were brightest. The 2025 to 2026 San Antonio Spurs arrived ahead of schedule, led by Victor Wembanyama, who unanimously won the Western Conference Finals MVP. They fought their way to the NBA Finals. They integrated De'Aaron Fox, whose maximum contract extension kicks in, providing elite speed and scoring from the point guard position. They had youth, they had length, they had the tactical genius of Greg Popovich. But what happened in the finals against the Knicks? They lost games 1 and 2 at home. They showed their youth. They showed a desperate, glaring need for a seasoned floor general who can slow the game down, read the opposing defense like a children's book, and make the correct decision 100% of the time in high-pressure situations. Enter LeBron Raymond James. Imagine a half-court offense. De'Aaron Fox pushing the pace in transition, but when the game slows down in the fourth quarter, the ball goes to LeBron. You have LeBron James running the pick and roll with Victor Wembanyama. How does a defense cover that? If you switch, You have a guard trying to contest a 7'4" alien who can shoot over anyone. If you drop, LeBron James is attacking the basket with a full head of steam or pulling up for a jumper. If you bring a third defender, LeBron, the greatest passer of his generation, fires a laser to Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson spotting up in the corner. It is unguardable. Furthermore, playing alongside Wembanyama allows LeBron to completely conserve his energy on the defensive end of the floor. Wembanyama is averaging 3.5 blocks a game in the playoffs. He covers up every mistake on the perimeter. LeBron can roam, play the passing lanes, and act as a free safety without expending the immense physical toll required to battle in the paint. Financially, the Spurs have the flexibility. They are an organization that has meticulously managed their cap sheet. They have their young core of Steph Castle, Dylan Harper, and Carter Bryant still on rookie deals. They can offer LeBron a very competitive short-term contract without gutting the team's depth. And culturally, LeBron has always spoken with the utmost reverence for Greg Popovich. He has called him the greatest coach of all time. At this stage in his career, LeBron doesn't want to play for a rookie head coach or an organization in disarray. He wants structure. He wants accountability. He wants a system that maximizes his remaining athletic prime. The Spurs offer a basketball utopia. It is the perfect marriage of a fading, legendary supernova and a rising, unstoppable star. As analysts have noted, this wouldn't even be viewed as a traditional ring chase. It would be viewed as a masterclass in roster construction. LeBron wouldn't be riding the coattails of a super team. He would be the missing ingredient, the veteran catalyst that transforms a young, incredibly talented roster into an immediate, unquestionable championship dynasty. But let us pivot our focus entirely and cross the country to analyze the Eastern Conference possibilities. The East is no longer the weaker sibling of the NBA. As I mentioned in the introduction, the landscape has violently shifted. Giannis to Miami, Jaylen Brown to Philadelphia. The Boston Celtics remain a powerhouse. If LeBron chooses to return to the East, he is deliberately walking into a gauntlet. Let's deeply analyze the Cleveland Cavaliers option. This is the most poetic outcome. The kid from Akron returning for a final swan song season. From a basketball perspective, the fit is incredibly intriguing, though perhaps a bit more complicated than San Antonio. The Cavaliers are built around a dynamic backcourt of Donovan Mitchell and the towering frontcourt of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. If LeBron goes to Cleveland, he steps into an environment where he is not required to score 30 points a night. Donovan Mitchell is an elite, volume scorer who can carry the offensive burden for long stretches. LeBron would essentially transition into a pure, oversized point guard role, orchestrating the offense and getting the big men involved. Imagine the lob threats to Mobley and Allen with LeBron operating at the top of the key. However, the spacing could be an issue if they don't surround him with enough elite shooters. There are rumors of Cleveland attempting to bring in James Harden on a team-friendly deal. A lineup featuring Harden, Mitchell, LeBron, Mobley, and Allen sounds like a fantasy basketball fever dream, but the defensive liabilities on perimeter would be significant. Financially, Cleveland can likely only offer the veteran minimum or the taxpayer mid-level exception of roughly $6 million. They are cash-strapped. They would have to rely entirely on LeBron's willingness to take a massive pay cut for the sake of the story and the chance to bring one more parade to Northeast Ohio. There are even wild trade scenarios floated by insiders like Brian Windhorst, suggesting massive roster shakeups to accommodate LeBron, but doing so might strip the team of the very depth that makes him a contender. Then you have the wild cards in the East, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. The 76ers have an undeniable pitch. They have Joel Embiid, a former MVP who dominates the paint. They have Tyrese Maxey, one of the fastest, most electrifying young guards of the sport. And they just traded for Jaylen Brown. Adding LeBron James to that trio creates a terrifying, physical, overwhelming four-headed monster. LeBron would take the pressure off Embiid to be the primary playmaker, allowing Embiid to focus purely on scoring and protecting the rim. But Embiid's injury history is a massive red flag for a 41-year-old LeBron who does not have the time to wait for a star to get healthy in April. And then there's Miami. Pat Riley is a mastermind. Acquiring Giannis Antetokounmpo was a stroke of genius, immediately elevating the Heat back into the elite tier. Could LeBron return to South Beach, Teaming LeBron's intelligence with Giannis's unstoppable physical force would be the most physically imposing duo since Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. It would be a relentless downhill attack that no defense in the NBA could withstand. But again, Miami is operating under severe financial constraints following the Giannis trade. It would require immense sacrifice from LeBron. And there is a lingering question of whether LeBron wants to return to an organization where Pat Riley still casts a massive, controlling shadow over everything. What this deep dive ultimately reveals is a stark contrast in philosophies. The San Antonio route represents basketball purity, a seamless fit with the game's next ultimate superstar, and a chance to exist in a highly structured, low-drama environment. It is a logical, brilliant chess move. The Eastern Conference route, particularly Cleveland, represents romance, legacy, and a challenge to conquer a conference that is loaded up with heavy artillery. It is the emotional, narrative-driven blockbuster movie move. The NBA machine is pushing both narratives because either outcome dominates the news cycle, drives unprecedented engagement, and guarantees that the 2026 to 2027 season will be the most heavily watched campaign in recent memory. LeBron is staring at two vastly different canvases. Try to decide what the final brushstrokes of his masterpiece should look like. Does he want to be the mentor who elevated the alien in Texas? Or does he want to be the conquering hero who returned home to slay the newly formed dragons of the East? As we bring this massive, unparalleled free agency situation into perspective, we have to talk about what this means for the broader legacy of LeBron James. We are witnessing an athlete who has completely defied the normal parameters of human aging and the traditional life cycle of an NBA superstar. The fact that a player entering his 24th season is still considered the biggest free agent domino in the league. The fact that championship contenders are scrambling, restructuring their rosters, and holding their breath waiting for his decision is a testament to an unprecedented level of sustained excellence. If he chooses the San Antonio Spurs, it will forever alter how we view his final act. It will be seen as a humble, brilliant acknowledgement of the future. By teaming up with Victor Wembanyama, LeBron would essentially be giving his blessing to the next era of the NBA. He would be ensuring that his knowledge, his work ethic, and his championship DNA are passed directly to the player who will carry the league for the next 2 decades. It would be an act of stewardship as much as it would be an act of competition. Winning a title in San Antonio would give him a championship with 4 different franchises, a feat that is almost incomprehensible, cementing his status as the ultimate mercenary king who can win under any system, with any supporting cast, and under any coach. Conversely, if he chooses to return to the Eastern Conference, specifically the Cleveland Cavaliers, it cements a legacy of incredible loyalty to his roots, despite the nomadic nature of his career. To finish the story exactly where it began, in the Rust Belt of Ohio, will be the most poetic ending in the history of sports. It would say that despite the Hollywood glitz of Los Angeles, despite the championship culture of Miami, his heart always belonged to the franchise that drafted him as an 18-year-old kid burdened with impossible expectations. It would be a defiant stand against the super teams of the East, a declaration that even at 41, he believes his mind and his remaining physical gifts are enough to orchestrate one final miracle. Ultimately, this decision is not just about basketball. It is about how LeBron James wants to be remembered in the final paragraphs of the biography. The NBA is pushing these narratives because they are desperate for the story to end on a high note. They do not want LeBron to fade away on a mediocre Lakers team that cannot compete. They want him on the biggest stage, fighting for the highest stakes against the best competition. Whether he heads south to join forces with the French Phenom or heads east to battle the newly formed juggernauts, the entire basketball world will be watching, paralyzed with anticipation. The clock is ticking, the offers are on the table, and the king is preparing to make his final move. Thank you all for joining me on this incredibly deep dive into the biggest story in the sports world. The landscape of the NBA is shifting under our feet, and I want to know exactly what you think. Drop down into the comments section right now and tell me, should LeBron James go to San Antonio Spurs and build an unstoppable empire with Victor Wembanyama? Or should he return to the Eastern Conference, go back to Cleveland, and try to win one last ring for his hometown? Make sure you like this video if you appreciate the deep, comprehensive breakdown, and hit that subscribe button with the notification bell turned on so you never miss an update as this massive free agency story continues to unfold. Until next time, keep your eyes on the timeline because the NBA offseason is just getting started, and the next breaking news alert could change the history of the league forever. Stay tuned.